Hello students! Today I'm going to talk about do and be in question patterns. Do includes do, does, and did, and be question words are is and are and were and was. So we have two different categories of questions, and the grammatical difference is profound. So I want you to learn how to do this and how to write do and does questions, and also be, is, and are questions so that you can tell the difference and do it quickly. So in our textbook on page 21, you've already seen this explanation about questions and writing questions using does and do. And then there's this little part over here that talks about compare the yes, no questions and short answer with be. All right, so they don't give you much practice with the be, with the is and the are. And they don't tell you what the difference is either. So down here are WH questions, which follow the same pattern. But again, down here at the bottom, they don't give you much practice with the be verb. So I made a little handout for you to use when you're practicing. And here it is. So this is my typing. When you're writing a question, think about the verb in the question. If it is a be verb, including the continuous or progressive tenses, such as is contemplating or are considering, you will start your question with one of these verbs: are, is, were, or was. So these are for the be verb and also for the continuous or progressive tenses. Here's some examples. Are your friends excited about the upcoming election? In this case, excited may look like a verb, but it's an ed adjective. So excited, you can take out the word excited and you can put in happy to test it to see if it's an adjective or not. And you can say, are your friends happy about the upcoming election? Yeah, that works. So excited is an adjective there. Is the Constitution difficult to interpret? All right, you may think that this looks like a verb, but this is not. This is an infinitive pattern, and this does not change when the time changes. So it can't be a verb. The only verb in this whole sentence is over here, the is. Were you thinking about running for office? Okay, in this be verb question, were you thinking? The thinking is the past continuous tense, right? Is thinking, are thinking, was thinking, were thinking. Those are the past continuous or the past progressive tense. And finally, was it difficult to vote in the first presidential election? Where's the verb in that question? It's only one, and it's right here, was. This right here is an infinitive. It doesn't count. Infinitives and gerunds, we will study those later. Okay, so this is pretty tricky, and you're going to have some practice below. This is the one they really cover, and this is if there's an action verb in the question, you're going to start with do, does, or did. So the action, so most of the questions are going to start with do, does, or did, I would think, because we use a whole variety of verbs in our question, and we hardly ever use be. I mean, are you okay? Is he happy? You know, these quick little questions are the be verb, but when it gets more complicated, more complex, then we use the action verbs, all the other verbs possible. And if you use an action verb, you're going to start with do, does, or did, and then the main verb is going to be in the base form, which is also called the dictionary form. So let's look at these examples. Do senators have more power than representatives? You can see the do right here, and then here's have in the base form. Does the Supreme Court ever throw out a court case? Again, does is the verb, and throw out is the base form. It's a phrasal verb or a two-word verb. Throw out, mean get rid of, you know. So that's in the base form. And finally, did the writers of the Constitution do a good job? And you're asking, did they do a good job? Do is the base form. It may seem a little strange to have did and do in the same question, but it's actually grammatically correct. So I hope that this helps a little bit with you being able to figure out if you're going to start with a be verb at the beginning, or are you going to be starting out with a do, does, or did. And down below, I have some activities for you to do. The first part here is to choose between are and is, or do and does for these questions here. So I want you to take a few minutes and put one of those words here. Are, is, do, does. Which word goes into these 5 blanks? And then when you're done with that, I want you to take 10 minutes or maybe 15 minutes, and I want you to write your own questions, starting with are, is, do, and does. Okay, and check to see for the do or does that you have a verb in the base form somewhere in the question. Okay, so that means that I'm going to put this on pause, and you're going to spend a couple of minutes up here filling in the verb, and down here you're going to write 4 questions. I think that should take you about 15 minutes. Do your best, and then when we come back, we can go over it. So I'm going to hit pause here. I want you to do the same, and then we'll come back when you're done. Hi, how did that go? Were you able to fill out this activity sheet? Let's see how you did. All right, for the first one, what did you put? Presidents limited to 2 terms in office. So presidents is plural, so you know it's going to be plural, are or do. Are presidents limited? Do presidents limited? Do you see a base form of the verb in the sentence? Is limited a base form? No, it isn't. It's actually an ed adjective. So I would put are here. Are presidents limited to 2 terms in office? Okay. How did you do? Did you get that one? All right, for number 2, the Constitution open for interpretation. The Constitution is singular, so we're going to be deciding between is and does. Is the Constitution open for interpretation? Does the Constitution open for interpretation? I don't see a base form in this part of the question, so we're going to use is. Is the Constitution open for interpretation? All right, how are you doing? 2 for 2? Number 3. People in Seattle support the current mayor. Here I've highlighted the base verb. And also we have a plural over here. So we have to hop over here and say, is it going to be do or does? Do people? Does people? Do you know the answer? It's do, right? Do people in Seattle support the current mayor? Okay, are you getting the hang of this? Here's number 4. All Americans allowed to vote? Oh my goodness, here's another ed adjective. I'm trying to trick you, am I? I don't know. I just write questions that are common. You know, you might hear this question. So we don't have a base verb in here, so we're looking at are or is. And all Americans is going to be the subject of the answer, so we're going to use the plural form, right? Are all Americans allowed to vote? And then finally, to contrast this question, I wrote the exact same question, but I used the base form of the verb. All Americans vote. So I would write do there, right? Do all Americans vote? I didn't do it. I didn't create any does questions. Well, I think that's what you've done down here. So the first thing I want you to do is to look through your question right here and make sure that you don't have a base verb going on anywhere in there. And then for the do or does, you should be able to circle the base form of the verb. And you should be able to show me. Here it is right here. All right, so let's see. I'll type in a typical question. I don't want to take too much of this up. Let's see. I'll write about our class. Are we learning how to write questions correctly? Okay, that's my question. Are we learning how to write questions correctly? All right, learning is, do you know what that is? That's the progressive tense, right? The continuous or progressive tense. We are learning how to write questions correctly is the answer. Yes, we are. All right, second one is, let's see, is this an online class or a hybrid class? Is this an online class or a hybrid class? All right, any base form in here? I don't see any base form. That means it's correct. All right, let's see for do. Do. Do you know the way to the bookstore? All right, do you know the way to the bookstore? Here's no. That looks like a base form, right? It is. It's a base form. So do you know the way to the bookstore? And it's like, yes, I do. Come with me. It's right over here next to Briar Hall. And then finally, for my does, I'm going to try to write about laws of the land. Does your country have a constitution? Does your country have a constitution? Your country is singular. And so have is the base form here. And so this correct question is correct. Oh, I'm done. Okay, I better go. Bye.